CNBC TV 18, celebrating 16 years of business leadership.
The Chair appeals to the honourable members to make the fullest possible use of the instrumentalities of accountability and discussion available to them under the rules of procedure.
We have a meeting of the minds with the opposition on substance, not on politics.
They are showing their might and they are not responding to any of our questions, and they are following double rules, one for opposition, one for ruling.
हमें विश्वास है कि शायद बाकी दलों को भी इस बात की समझ आएगी कि जनता का भी इस समय यही मत है कि ये काम सुचारू रूप से आगे चलने चाहिए।
These are all called as lame excuses to paralyze Parliament.
22 days, 9 bills passed by the Lok Sabha, 14 by the Rajya Sabha. In cricketing terms, that's the batting strike rate of India's fast bowlers, not one that our parliamentarians can be proud of. Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on India Business Hour. Here are the headlines that we're taking you through this Wednesday evening. No GST, no realty bill and no bankruptcy code. The winter session draws to a close with both houses passing just 9 bills. The Rajya Sabha chairman asked members to introspect as the productivity of the upper house stands at just 46%.
Stress in the Indian banking system has increased thanks to weak balance sheets of large corporates, says the RBI's Financial Stability Report. Global risks have also risen. The only silver lining is the improvement in India's macro picture.
Markets rally in late trade to end at the high point of the day. The Nifty reclaimed 7,800 and the SENSEX surges over 250 points, but mid-caps underperformed.
A spectacular debut for two healthcare companies on the Lal Street. Dr. Lal Path Lab soars a whopping 50%. Alchem Lab surges over 30%.
Sun Pharma sees a relief rally as the US drug regulator's warning letter does not throw up any new negatives, say brokerages.
India's interests have not been compromised in the Nairobi WTO deal, says the Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Says the food safeguards have been reaffirmed and the anti-dumping position has not been weakened.
Wipro's shopping spree continues. Buys US-based business processing services company VTOS for $130 million, its third acquisition this year.
Prime Minister Modi lands in Moscow for a two-day visit. Sources say Reliance Defense and Russia's USC will join hands to build 4 warships for the Indian Navy.
Once India's fertile belt, Bundelkhand is now starving. CNBC TV 18 travels to the drought-hit area to find out why families are being forced to eat rotis made of grass. All of that and more coming up for you on India Business Hour, but straight to the action on the Lal Street. The pattern is clear. Bulls dominate one day and the next day it's the bears. Today it was the turn of the bulls with the market staging a healthy rally. So the SENSEX put on about 260 points. It's moved closer to 26,000. That level has been a key resistance level for our markets. Onto the Nifty, which gained about 80 points. It's now moved well above 7,800. And today was a day for the blue chip stocks. They really led from the front. The mid-caps marginally underperforming, with the mid-cap index gaining less than 0.5%. But with just a few days to go for the new year, we've decided to rope in our top market experts to give you 16 multi-bagger ideas for 2016. Today, we saw a gala interaction at the Bombay Stock Exchange. 4 of our top experts, Purinju Velayat, SP Tulsian, Ambarish Baliga and Prakash Diwan, picked 4 stocks each that they're betting on in the new year. Here's Purinju's 4 stocks, and we'll bring you more ideas on India Business Hour. Let's go straight to the top story tonight. We hope the winter session would be a productive one after the monsoon washout, but that was not to be. The Rajya Sabha, where the government is in minority, saw 46% productivity. The Lok Sabha, however, saw 100% productivity, but that doesn't say very much. Let's get down to a reality check now. The GST bill, touted to be India's most ambitious tax reform to date, will now have to be passed in the budget session. The insolvency and bankruptcy bill, which the government tried to push through as a money bill, which is an attempt at modernizing an outdated system to allow speedy exits for failed businesses, has now been sent to a joint committee of Parliament. That's not all. The wait for the real estate regulator just got longer for home buyers across India. This after the government postponed the passage of the real estate bill to next year. But some work did get done. The government did manage to pass some bills. The Juvenile Justice Bill was cleared. The Payment of Bonus Bill was passed today without virtually any discussion. The FT and ST Amendment Bill and the Negotiable Instruments Bill, among others, passed by Parliament in the winter session. A short while ago, I reached out to Tom Badakan of the Congress Party, Nalin Kohli of the BJP, and A.K. Bhattacharya, editor of Business Standard. I started by asking Tom Badakan, the Congress representative, about the way forward and whether we could see a meeting of minds between the opposition and the ruling party to keep their differences aside to ensure that legislative action takes place in the next session, which is the budget session of Parliament.
The Parliamentary Affairs Minister is not the Parliamentary Affairs Minister of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He happens to be the Parliamentary Minister of this Parliament. That is across the board, all opposition parties, the ruling party. And if the Parliamentary Affairs Minister behaves as not grown up on the stage of a spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, there is a problem. Even today, his briefing was full of adjectives describing how good he is and how bad the opposition party is. This is not about...
But Mr. Badakan, to be fair, when the Congress is asked questions, they say exactly the same thing about the BJP. They call the BJP the names, and the BJP is calling the Congress names. My question is, how does this name-calling lead us to productive business? I mean, this country requires legislative business. It requires legislative action. It's really disappointing to see bills being passed by either houses of Parliament without any discussion. It's disappointing to see that on WTO matters today, people were more interested in whether 3 minutes has been allocated seeking a clarification to members as opposed to a robust discussion. How do we arrive at Parliament doing what it's meant to do?
See, this is charity begins at home. Let's understand this. Parliamentary form of government, the opposition and the government are like railway tracks. They may not meet, but without them they can't function. The point is, you need to take everybody along. You need to take Parliament into confidence. You take major decisions on foreign policy. You do not brief Parliament. You do not brief Parliament on what are the steps. You take a huge U-turn in terms of the whole policy on foreign policy. On economic issues, questions are not answered. You go and raid a chief minister of a state and you don't expect that there would be no reflection in Parliament. Okay. There are attacks on Dalits and you expect no reflection in Parliament. Okay. I mean, these are things that you need to take Parliament into confidence without taking the opposition party into
confidence. Okay, Nalin Kohli, let me ask you for your perspective here and whether we can actually expect some sort of a change in attitude. It's not just the Congress party, but other opposition parties, including the left, have also been accusing the government of not being sincere and actually reaching out to the opposition. I'll give you an example only today, where the WTO statement by the Commerce Minister is tabled in the upper house of Parliament, but the declaration itself has not been circulated to any of the members. So how does Parliament actually have a robust conversation on a matter where the leaders in the upper house have not even been given the Nairobi Declaration or the Nairobi Agreement? And then to say, but it's up on the website. I hope you get the point that I'm trying to make. Can we see a different approach in the next session of Parliament to ensure the proper functioning of the House?
Well, I think we are possibly approaching this maybe in my perspective in an incorrect manner.
Now, why it was not circulated, there could be many reasons. I'm not the correct person to answer that. That can be answered by someone in Parliament. It could also be related to the fact that I read in the newspapers a few weeks ago that Parliament was not going to circulate printed copies and was going to encourage people to see it off their iPads or things like that.
Mr. Kohli,
so I'm not going to take it as a blame instantly
this is only one instance.
Without knowing the facts.
But there have been other instances.
That's why I said, you've said, ma'am, I've heard it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I've understood what you said. You raised a specific thing, so I'm merely giving you an answer to that specific thing. Now let's go to the larger picture, and I'll answer that one by one. It's not that the government has not reached out, and there is history to back it up, and there's also the current session. The facts are otherwise to what the Congress party is saying. In the monsoon session, in the winter session, lots of bills have been passed. The productivity of both houses was excellent. And the credit goes to a parliament. It goes to the opposition parties and as well as the ruling party. Now let's come to the last two sessions. The monsoon session, Mr. Rahul Gandhi decided it was going to be disrupted. He said we won't let parliament run. It didn't run. The winter session was hopefully going to be a parliament session that would run. The Prime Minister reached out. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, Dr. Manmohan Singh, they were gracious enough to accept that invitation, go down, meet. There was movement and hopefully expectation that GST would be passed, because GST is not about the BJP or the Congress or anyone else. It's a bill for the betterment of India and Indian economy. And I just don't know how it gets stuck. Now, thereafter, the National Herald case happened. It's a court order. It came on the 7th of December. From the 8th, Parliament stopped functioning. It was called political vendetta. We are still unable to understand, from our understanding of the Constitution as it is, how does the government ask a court to give an order, or do the courts function as extensions of the government? That's not how it is.
Kohli,
but the Congress is in its rights for its own political reasons to want to move on.
Sure, therefore, we could continue this conversation.
The second part is,
on the
if you decide not to run Parliament, my last comment, okay?
Yes. Go ahead.
I had a last comment to make only. The last comment was this, that in this country, every day something is going to happen that is justifiably going to cause outrage to someone in any political party to want to raise an issue. So do you raise an issue by shutting down Parliament or by discussing or debating there?
Yeah.
And the last thing, Mr. Vadakan is making a weak argument. Does he expect me to send a script to Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Mrs. Sonia Gandhi about how they should speak, what language they should use? Likewise, he doesn't expect him to turn around and say the Congress party is going to send a script to the Parliamentary Affairs Minister.
Sure.
If the Parliamentary Affairs Minister is anguished and wants to go ahead and speak, you can't have a moratorium on what he speaks, how he speaks, and an embargo on that. So I think there is a situation here. The facts are in front of everyone. India will judge.
India will judge, but A.K. Bhattacharya, you're literally in the middle of this discussion. So let me get your comments in on this. Not much has been achieved in this session of Parliament, but the precedents that we're now seeing, the bankruptcy code being brought in as a money bill to try and circumvent the upper house of Parliament. It's now been pushed to a joint committee, which the finance minister himself admitted that he was uncomfortable bringing it in as a money bill. This business of stalling legislative action as a form of protest, is there any getting away from this? Do you really believe that the next session of Parliament, for instance, is going to be any better?
Well, from what happened in this just concluded winter session, I don't think we can hope any better. But let me say that what happened in the last monsoon session and what happened in this winter session is very clear. That the ruling party, the BJP-led government at least, must realize that it does need a new template for political engagement with the opposition parties, because the current template in the manner in which they are engaging with the opposition political parties, whatever their might or numbers be in the Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, is just not delivering. So as the government of the day, I think it is important for the government also to take that initiative and recognize that its current template of engagement is not just not delivering results for its own governance agenda. Now, having said that, it is also incumbent of the opposition political parties to realize that this kind of disruptive politics does attract the law of diminishing returns. I mean, you know, this kind of dysfunctional politics will not really give them any dividends, even in the forthcoming electoral battles they're going to fight. So on the whole, I find as an Indian citizen, I find the spectacle of Parliament having just passed 10 bills, out of which 2 were appropriation bills, is something that time wasted and energies misused in the wrong forums. So unless the BJP and the Congress particularly come to terms with some sort of an engagement, the terms of engagement should be better, by which you have the Parliamentary Affairs Minister who should go out. You have the Prime Minister who has already gone out to the Congress leader, has gone to Manmohan Singh, which was a nice gesture. But I think that engagement has to improve, and so that we don't see a repeat of this dysfunctional politics and dysfunctional Parliament again in the coming session. You know, Shireen, what is unfortunate is that today you have a situation where what is patently not a money bill is being presented as a money bill, so that they can get away from the Rajya Sabha problem. So I don't think it is setting a good precedent that the bankruptcy code bill is not a money bill, but it is being presented as a money bill, so that you can bypass Rajya Sabha. I don't think it is setting a good precedent for Indian Parliament or Indian democracy.
That was a conversation Shireen had with the editor of Business Standard, as well as spokespersons from Congress Party and the BJP. The call from the Congress, as well as AKB of Business Standard, being the government needs to change its style of engagement with the opposition. With a 43% strike rate in the Rajya Sabha, let's hope the budget session is more fruitful. Let's tell you what else happened in Parliament today. Under attack from all corners over the WTO deal in Nairobi, the government came out in defense of that accord in Parliament. Opposition members cutting across party lines raised the issue in Rajya Sabha, forcing Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to make a statement. The minister said India's interests have not been compromised and developing nations are entitled to seek safeguards for agriculture. She also clarified India's position on anti-dumping duties have not been weakened. Sitharaman also dismissed reports that the education sector would come under the WTO deal.
The right of the developing countries to safeguard their agriculture from import surges will be reaffirmed, not just be reaffirmed, but also reaffirmed for a commitment for a work plan that we have obtained. And I'm glad to submit to this House that this was not before, but we have done it in this Nairobi meet.
Whether higher education is being treated as tradable commodity under the negotiations, WTO negotiations. Was there any talk on this in Nairobi?
Not a word on education was spoken in Nairobi. Not a word. And therefore, those who are protesting, saying something has been agreed in Nairobi, oh my God, we have surrendered our interest. No, I'm sorry, honorable members.
हमने एक पर भी कोई सवाल नहीं किया, लेकिन दोहा हमारे पेट से और हमारी जमीन से जुड़ा हुआ सवाल है. हम चाहते हैं इसमें जोरेदार बहस हो.
हम सब पेट से जमीन से जुड़े हुए आदमी ही है जी. हम देश के बाहर जाकर के इस देश का नुकसान नहीं करेंगे कभी भी.
Well, staying with all the political action of the day, the BJP was perhaps waiting for the winter session of Parliament to end before it took disciplinary action against its Lok Sabha MP Kirti Azad. Azad has now been suspended from the party. This after he launched an all-out attack on what he claims is a fight against corruption inside the Delhi Cricket Association. The party had been left red-faced as a result of this, especially since Azad also implicitly hit out at Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who was at the helm of the cricket body during the period that Azad claims the scam took place. A defiant Azad maintains he will continue to fight.
कि आज जो आदमी लड़ता रहे 10 साल तक जिसको पॉलिटिकली लोग प्रताड़ित करते रहे, जो सच्चाई की बात करे वो बाहर हो जाए और उसको एंटी पार्टी कहा जाए. देखिए ना, मजे देखिए आगे क्या होता है.
Well, time for a short commercial break. On the other side, large companies are stressing out India's banks, says RBI. Stay tuned for that.
CNBC TV 18, celebrating 16 years of business leadership.